Good evening and welcome to the Visionary Voice Report, coming to you on this pivotal day, February 11th, 2025. We gather here determined to champion truth and tradition in a world overshadowed by unchecked bureaucracy. Yet, we also seek unity, inviting every listener to stand with us in the light of liberty. On this broadcast, we will examine 10 remarkable stories that shine a clarifying beam upon our national journey. History whispers that decisive leadership and timeless values guide nations away from ruin and towards renewal. The radical left's complacency, so often hidden by tangled red tape, must be exposed by honest voices. Guided by the wisdom of those who came before, we stand ready to pursue virtuous freedom over hollow slogans. The facts before us, drawn from the last 24 hours, reveal both trials and triumphs in stark measure. Yet, in this revelation, we see a stirring call to rediscover accountability at every level of governance. Our convictions rest not in fiery division, but in the lasting promise of self-evident truths. And so, with steady hearts, we commence this new chapter of discourse, hope, and collective strength. In Washington yesterday, President Donald Trump welcomed Jordan's King Abdullah II to deliberate on Gaza's uncertain future. Their dialogue spotlighted a radical proposal to relocate Palestinians and reimagine Gaza as a tourism haven. From a conservative standpoint, national security and fiscal clarity guided every exchange around Middle East stability. Critics on the left insisted such a plan threatened Palestinian rights, ignoring the region's dire humanitarian predicament. Central to the discussion was the absolute necessity of balancing regional peace with a steadfast respect for sovereignty. In the swirl of fleeting sound bites, King Abdullah reaffirmed Jordan's refusal to shoulder the burden of forced displacement. That emphasis on rightful self-determination, at times overshadowed in radical left discourses, echoed powerfully across diplomatic tables. Still, some well-intentioned but misguided voices dismissed the plan without offering pragmatic alternatives. Conservatives continue to advocate for strong partnerships that respect cultural identities while ensuring security for all. To succeed, we must remember that solutions demand honest negotiation, not reflexive condemnation. Thus, the White House meeting concluded in cautious optimism, forging a path where moral clarity and strategic vision may yet converge. Only hours before dawn, an American teacher named Marc Fogel finally tasted freedom after relentless negotiations with Moscow. Chronic back pain once led him to carry prescribed medicine, yet Russian courts deemed it contraband, fueling a lengthy ordeal. Conservatives praised the administration's unwavering stance, championing every American's right to safety on foreign soil. Critics on the left murmured that this success was overshadowed by broader tensions with Russia, hoping to cloud a clear victory. But the vital truth stands. Unwavering resolve can pry open even the steeliest prison bars. High-level envoys labored day and night, bridging cultural gaps with determined purpose. In a time of sensational headlines, such decisive diplomacy reaffirms the bedrock principle that citizens deserve unyielding support. Though cynics scold compromise, results speak louder than rumor or rancor. Here, steadfast leadership triumphed over legal labyrinths, securing a just outcome for a captive educator. From a single flight on a gray-tinted morning, we glean the shining possibility that freedom always finds a way. And so, Marc Fogel's homecoming stands as a testament to the power of fierce advocacy and an undimmed belief in American fortitude. Vice President J.D. Vance prepares to meet Ukrainian President Zelensky amid echoes of caution and calls for compromise. This conservative figure, once critical of boundless foreign aid, now steps onto a stage where history's pages turn swiftly. Meanwhile, Senator Jon Ossoff pushes the administration to reject El Salvador's unconventional offer to incarcerate Americans overseas. Opponents from the radical left accuse Vance of heartless isolationism, while others question the logic of outsourcing prisons. Deep at the core is a moral truth. National sovereignty and personal liberty can coexist only if guided by prudence and principle. The world sees a dance of alliances, where each decision resonates across borders once blurred by rhetoric. Yet no clarion call from the left can conceal the fundamental butterfly flying by the fundamental need to protect our citizens from misguided global entanglements. Where some see obstacles, true statesmanship discerns avenues for measured cooperation and clarity of purpose. In championing both security and basic rights, conservative voices reiterate a loyalty to constitutional guardrails. We stand not for endless interventions, nor for moral oblivion, but for a balanced, unwavering approach to foreign affairs. Hence, these parallel events remind us that wisdom emerges when we weigh compassion, sovereignty, and cautious stewardship in equal measure. Across the globe, agencies reliant on American support stand in disarray as foreign aid remains frozen under new executive orders. Construction halted, vaccines delayed, relief packages stifled, signs of an apparatus long grown complacent, now questioned by unwavering reformers. Conservative policymakers assert that unaccountable spending invites inefficiency, demanding a reevaluation of every dollar spent beyond our borders. Progressives bristle, decrying these cuts as callous steps that endanger the vulnerable, a refrain repeated by entangled bureaucrats. Yet even empathy requires structure. Compassion without oversight can spawn corruption like weeds in an untended field. Hence, lawsuits contest the administration's authority, each side invoking legality to defend either total closure or unconditional funding. This clash illuminates a timeless tension: how best to reconcile global humanitarian obligations with prudent stewardship at home. Though some claim moral high ground, statistics reveal billions wasted on half-finished projects, reflecting a need for recalibrated accountability. A reasoned path forward demands verifiable outcomes, ensuring compassion is neither bankrupt nor exploited. Only through balanced reform can we uphold the promise of aiding neighbors abroad while safeguarding our nation's fiscal health. Thus, the foreign aid freeze stands as a clarion call for thorough house cleaning, not an abandonment of noble responsibilities. In a fierce declaration, President Trump has demanded Hamas release of all hostages by midday Saturday, lest the ceasefire collapse in sudden fury. Families of the captives brace for either miraculous reunions or the nightmare of renewed warfare. From a conservative viewpoint, moral clarity demands no compromise with those who perpetuate terror. Opponents wring their hands, suggesting a softer stance to preserve fragile peace, but ignoring the cost of unending fear. Our first obligation remains the safety of innocence, for a righteous peace can never be built on the bones of the kidnapped. Thus, the president's ultimatum reverberates across foreign capitals, forcing every actor to confront the stark line between cruelty and civilization. It's said that genuine diplomacy stands on unwavering principles, not on ephemeral truces that bury injustices in quiet corners. And so, Hamas faces a final hour of decision, pressed by the collective will of those who reject barbarity. Supporters of steadfast action recall how determined resolve has rescued hostages throughout history. Even so, we pray for a swift release, longing to heal rather than to rend the region's fragile tapestry. If righteous demands yield freedom, this chapter may prove that moral firmness, not faint-hearted appeasement, truly safeguards precious lives. Steel stands tall, aluminum gleams bright, and a 25% shield now guards American metals from undercutting tides. Many cheer this protective measure, recalling past eras when robust tariffs built industries that forged our nation a national backbone. Yet some lament rising costs, conjuring images of inflationary burdens trickling down to households seeking everyday goods. Here, the conservative mind weighs the cost of short-term price hikes against the prize of long-term resilience, trusting that fairness in trade demands fortitude at home. History nods in recognition, recalling how a determined commitment to domestic production once propelled the United States to unprecedented heights of self-reliance. If we would shield our workshop from foreign manipulation, we must accept the hammer's ring as the cost of forging a solid future. And thus we harness the spirit of enterprise to outlast ephemeral turmoil, forging unity among workers, owners, and communities who yearn for stability. Let the clang of tempered steel remind us that empowerment rises from sweat, sacrifice, and a fierce belief in our nation's enduring capabilities. While metal tariffs echo across oceanic trade routes, another boundary garnered renewed attention when David Cohen, former U.S. ambassador, declared Canada would never become America's 51st state. His words resounded like a respectful vow, protecting a neighbor's autonomy against casual musings of annexation. True sovereignty, he insisted, is not a commodity to be bartered, and Canadians deserve the dignity of charting their own destiny. Here, the conservative heartbeat aligns with a timeless principle. Each nation flourishes best when grounded in its own proud identity. Indeed, imposing one will upon another seldom fosters lasting fraternity, nor does it mirror the values that once shaped the greatest generation. Yet, in forging strong bonds with allies, we also discover that mutual respect can unite distinct flags under broader visions of liberty. As boundaries are recognized and reaffirmed, each side stands taller, forging alliances built on trust rather than intimidation. Thus we see a universal truth. In respecting the lines between us, we strengthen the ties that bind us. Meanwhile, beyond the sturdy ramparts of commerce and the drawn lines of sovereignty, a deeper question rises. What of the billions left in limbo? Those $8.2 billion unspent by a hobbled U.S. aid. That dormant reservoir was meant to heal, to feed, to uplift, but now lies orphaned by bureaucratic tangles and halted oversight. Some protest that withholding this aid is cruel, while others remind us that generosity without guardrails withers in waste, stripped of real impact. Yet we stand at the brink of choice. Shall we let these resources languish in stasis, or shall we strive for a renewed system of accountability, one where every dollar's destiny is measured in saved lives and awakened hopes? A drama of purpose unfolds, urging us to reimagine foreign assistance not as a token of fleeting goodwill, but as a channel of meaningful, measurable relief. This moment, like many in our shared history, demands that we merge empathy with prudence, action with aspiration, so that both the giver and the recipient walk away enriched. If we center our hearts on the timeless creed that we are indeed each other's keeper, the labyrinth of neglect can be transformed into corridors of clarity. In the hush of that transformation, we glimpse the promise of tomorrow, a promise that echoes Dr. King's dream of lifted burdens and unleashed potential, where every resource meets its rightful cause. May we pledge ourselves to that bright horizon, forging a united path beyond division or despair. Across the rolling hills of Kalimpong, India, a quiet bell tolled last week to mark the passing of Gyalo Thondup, elder brother to the Dalai Lama. At 97 years of age, he epitomized perseverance in the face of upheaval, having navigated decades of turmoil surrounding Tibet's fractured autonomy. While left-wing critics often paint religious traditions as archaic boundaries, conservatives see such figures as a testament to faith-fueling fortitude. Thondup forged dialogues with Chinese authorities, refusing to let cynics define Tibet's future or bury hopes of peaceful reconciliation. In this legacy, we glimpse the resilient spirit that dares to speak truth across cultural chasms and generational heartbreak. For any people struggling beneath oppression, his life remains as a guiding beacon, reminding us that conviction can outlast cruelty. Perhaps the radical left overlooks these lessons when dismissing heritage as mere residue of the past. Yet Thondup's story whispers that tradition, properly honored, can be the root from which renewal springs. Mourning his departure, we also celebrate a chapter of history that proves faith and diplomacy need never be at odds. Like the tolling bell, his memory calls all who seek freedom to carry forward the mission of dialogue over discord. And so, Another voice departs this earth, leaving behind a resonance of hope that transcends borders and outlasts oppression. In recounting these truths, we circle back to the watchful intersection of policy and principle, where foreign aid, hostage demands, and national identity converge. Each story reveals a fresh facet of the conservative mission, safeguarding freedoms through prudent oversight, confident leadership, and moral resolve. Radical voices claim that such vigilance stifles compassion, but the data speaks otherwise. When billions languish in bureaucratic limbo, when hostages languish under terror's thumb, and when communities languish under ideological illusions, who truly suffers? Here, accountability stands paramount, bridging the gap between good intentions and tangible progress. Like a steel girder buttressing a mighty structure, truth-based governance prevents collapse into rhetorical chaos. Meanwhile, illusions of utopia fade when confronted by the real cost of inaction or misaction. Thus, these 10 accounts serve as both map and mirror, guiding us forward and reflecting our deeper responsibility. Conservatives wield facts not as opinions, but as vital tools for forging consensus around honest solutions. Standing firm on principle while extending hands of fellowship, we can champion the highest ideals across every aisle. Such is the essence of genuine progress, a vigilant heart, a unified purpose, and a willingness to see beyond shallow divisions. Reflecting on still tariffs and boundary lines, on foreign detainees and overshadowed funds, we see a tapestry woven with threads of perseverance. No fleeting slogan can dismiss the complexity of these issues, nor can blind partisanship solve them. Conservative calls for smaller yet sharper government ring ever truer when bureaucracies grow complacent, devouring budgets without tangible returns. But we also learn that genuine compassion, be it for a captive teacher, a threatened region, or a neglected community, remains indispensable to any lasting solution. Balance defines the path ahead, policy shaped by moral bedrock, empathy steered by verifiable outcomes, progress measured by real-world fruit. From Jordan's king at the White House to hostages in Gaza's gloom, the stories testify that bridging differences can heal deep rifts. And though many in the radical left champion activism without accountability, the hour calls us to unify thoughtful principle with determined action. Where some see us as a us versus them war, true patriots behold a family of citizens gleaning strength from open debate yet guided by ancient truths. So let these developments embolden the resolute and stir the timid, for destiny favors the diligent and the discerning. Indeed, the seeds we plant today, nourished by honesty and guarded by virtue, will yield tomorrow's harvest of hope. In that harvest lies our collective promise, a nation revivified, a people re-energized, and a future anchored in freedom's bold clarity. As we close this Visionary Voice Report on February 11th, 2025, let our resolve shine more brightly than ever. We have traced the contours of challenges and triumphs, from the clang of protective tariffs to the hush of diplomatic breakthroughs. We have witnessed the moral stands against tyranny, unwavering devotion to American sovereignty, and the unyielding push for authentic oversight. Now the mandate falls to each of us to carry forward the cause of accountability, guided by truth and emboldened by faith. When we share these words with friends, when we subscribe to this common vision, we magnify the course of freedom. Radical policies may attempt to silence conservative voices, but the undeniable power of facts and purpose cannot be swept aside. Together we champion the sacred flame of liberty, harnessing both innovation and tradition to outlast any onslaught of disarray. Stand tall, speak boldly, and let no fleeting cynic bury your hope beneath empty rhetoric. In union lies our might, in unwavering fellowship that lifts communities beyond despair. So like, share, comment, and tag your friends, sparking conversation that ignites transformation across this great land. For in the end, our unwavering unity stands as the surest testimony that America's best days still rise before us, beckoning us onward with heaven's own promise.